Hi, I'm Faye Gray, and yes, I ended my long-term relationship with a man to become a lesbian. Or at least realize that I had always been a lesbian. So how did I get myself into this situation? Well, I'm 24, I was raised in the rural Bible Belt of Texas, and so I grew up not knowing any other gay people, or at least any other gay people that were out. So I already had a lot of negative connotations surrounding homosexuality anyway. So when I was 18 or 19, I came out as bisexual, and I was openly dating a woman, and honestly, this part of my first coming out of my coming out story was generally pretty stressful. Like, I was not generally accepted by my family or the community, and even though I was living my most authentic life when I was in that relationship, I was constantly having to question, is this worth it? Is it worth experiencing homophobia? Is it worth potentially losing a relationship with my family? And so after that relationship ended, I sort of retreated back into the closet. So fast forward like 2 years later, and there's this guy that's in my friend group who is giving me a lot of attention. And I saw how my straight friends were sort of going about this like natural flow of a relationship where you spend a lot of time with someone and you get along really well with them. And so I thought, well, I'm bisexual, right? So I should date this guy. Looking back at this turning point in my life, I really wonder why I never questioned if I was ever attracted to him, or if I wanted to date him, or if what I even wanted, but sometimes I feel like women are just raised to be too polite to reject people that are being nice to us, and I don't know. There's a lot of reasons, but I ended up in a relationship with this man. And at the time I didn't question it, but anytime the relationship was escalating in a way that I couldn't reciprocate feelings for, I always just brushed it off as, oh, I have past trauma, or it's hard for me to open up, and so that's why I can't reciprocate feelings for him. But I thought, hey, if I just keep going, if I prove my loyalty, if I keep trying harder in this relationship, then eventually things will work out and I will reciprocate these feelings. But after we had been dating for a year and our relationship started to get more serious, to the point where we should be saying things like, I love you, my facade began to crumble. I remember having this foreboding sense of just discomfort and guilt that I couldn't love him the way that he loved me, and I couldn't explain why. I mean, I had no reason to not love him, so I thought. I remember thinking that I was aromantic, that I was incapable of experiencing romance. But don't mind me while I cry during 9 seasons of The Office because, oh my God, Jim and Pam are just so cute together. Can you imagine the confusion that I felt? I could fantasize about romance, I could desire romance, but I couldn't experience it in my own relationship. Something that is obvious to me now, but it wasn't at the time, is that I would cry every time after we had sex. And I don't just mean cry, like it was like inconsolable, sobbing, tears every single time. And the guy that I was with was really nice to me. He'd always ask, what was wrong, if he could do anything, and I never really had an answer. I could not explain what this intrinsic discomfort was within me. I was in a relationship with this man for an entire year. I would always chalk it up to, oh, I have past trauma, or oh, sex is just a really vulnerable experience. But no, I was crying because it lacked passion, and I desired passion. But I wasn't able to be passionate because I was performing a role that I was not meant to be in. And even though I could lie to myself during other aspects of the relationship, the vulnerability of sex just made it to where I couldn't even lie to myself. My subconscious queer identity was miserable, but I couldn't admit that to myself at the time. He treated me well. He was in love with me. And so I thought, well, it's just me that's broken. When I first told him that I wanted to end the relationship, I wasn't ready to use the word lesbian yet. First of all, because the word lesbian seemed like such a commitment, and if I had been so wrong about my identity in the past, by calling myself bisexual, what if I was wrong about my identity again? And secondly, because frankly, I really thought the word lesbian had a negative connotation. I mean, I had been raised in this Bible Belt area of the United States, and I had been raised to think that homosexuality was a sin. And if I called myself a lesbian, was I really ready for that level of sin? So I told my boyfriend that I was questioning my sexuality and that I was a lot gayer than I thought I was, and I needed room to explore that. Now, my ex-boyfriend, while we were dating, was supportive and aware of the fact that I identified as queer or bisexual. But after we broke up, he definitely changed his perspective. He told me that I was a sexist man-hater and that I was treating him like a monster, and that the only reason that I thought I was gay in the first place was that I had been assaulted by a man in my past and I just hated men now. So, to add some extra drama to this timeline, I ended this relationship right before quarantine was mandated in the part of the country that I live. So I spent the next several months by myself ruminating on the choice that I had just made. And all of those negative words that he had said to me became intrusive thoughts that I couldn't get out of my head, and it made me continuously doubt my identity. And for the past year, I have not dated at all. Partially because of the lockdown, you can't meet new people, it's really hard to do that. But also because I've just been in a sort of identity crisis. So I've spent all of my time in lockdown basically consuming LGBT content, if that's even through YouTube, or if it's through TikTok, or if it's from, adult videos. And just being able to relate to the gay community online has really made it easier for me to come to the conclusion that I am a lesbian and that I always have been. I like to compare living in compulsory heterosexuality as working in customer service. It's like you go to work, you put on your uniform, you put on your fake smile and your fake attitude, and you can almost convince yourself that you like working there. I mean, you spend 40 hours a week there, which is most of your waking life. But when you're not at work, you don't think about work because you're at home, you're relaxed, you're being yourself. And sometimes when you're at your job, you're wishing that you were at someone else's job. But when you get asked if you like your job, you're like, yeah, of course I like my job. I mean, sometimes I have a good laugh with my coworkers. Sometimes my manager calls me family. It's really not all that bad. But no, you don't like your job because it's customer service. And no one likes customer service because you're having to fake being nice to people for their comfort at the expense of your authenticity. Until you realize that no one's forcing you to work there. And you can stop faking it.